The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Lining up, Adrian Neville, and here it comes. Hemeka connects.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
So real quickly, I just want to preface this video by saying that I am not the most informed on Stardom storylines. I am a big fan of Stardom and became a fan back in 2020. But it is hard for me to become informed to the level I wish to be at because of the language barrier. So, for this video, a lot of it is just my opinions on what I can grasp from the event, what I can assume, what I can tell from what I'm watching. Usually, my main source of guidance for Stardom is social media, seeing other members of the community explain the storylines to me, translating the promos, or sometimes even Stardom themselves will have English captions for their promos, but, for the most part, it's usually social media. But this time, it was different. See, heading into this event, there was a lot of matches on the card that I wanted to watch without the need of spoilers. And so, this time, I went in watching the event with no social media to guide me as I watched. No explanation of some of the storylines, no spoilers as to what were the outcomes. I watched it this time with no input from others. I watched it with raw emotion. And while I could not understand what they were saying, their expressions and tone were enough to bring me to near tears as I watched. I could feel the genuine pain of the moment. Each piece of this story played their part to perfection, garnering such a reaction out of me with something as simple yet so intricate. Something that was able to transcend the language barrier and allow me to understand. For GameDay episode 8, I want to tell you the story of Natsupoi's Defection. On July 9th, Stardom held their Midsummer Champions event. Stardom Wrestling is an all-women's promotion in Japan. Stardom is known for having factions and every wrestler pretty much belonging to a faction. Two factions that are currently feuding are Donna del Mundo and the Cosmic Angels. Tam Nakano is the leader of the Cosmic Angels. She recently has faced off against Donna del Mundo member Natsupoi. First off, they fought in an emotional and brutal cage match at Stardom's last event, Fight to the Top. A match that saw them just brutalize each other in that cage, with Tom picking up the win. And then they moved on to one of their, regular touring shows where they faced off again, with this time Natsupoi picking up the win. And this event will come into play later. But their most recent encounter was an elimination tag match between the two factions. Late into the match, Tom is facing off against Natsupoi and Donna del Mundo leader Julia. The three are on the outside apron when Natsupoi attempts to super kick Tom, but Tom ducks and Natsupoi stops right before hitting Julia, who was standing right behind Tom. But then Natsupoi nails Julia right in the face with a super kick. Her faction members look on in confusion, uneasiness, a little bit of genuine fear. All while Natsupoi just stands there, emotional, but yet with a look... she stands there emotional with a look that reads as unsure if they made the right decision. As the match concludes, the factions stand face to face with one another in the ring, and it is here that Natsupoi announces she's leaving Donna del Mundo and joining the Cosmic Angels. Her reasoning? She wants to go to the top, and she isn't going to reach it being the pet or mascot of Donna del Mundo. She's ready to face whatever comes her way as a result of her actions, but she wants to rise to the top as a leader, something she sees when she looks at Tom in Cosmic Angels. Their second match in their recent series, as I mentioned earlier, where Natsupoi pulled off the win, it very much told the story, especially looking at this aftermath of the third match between the factions. It very much tells the story that Natsupoi wasn't trying to prove to herself and even Tom that she is better, but equal to her. That she has what it takes to lead. Something that she was not demonstrating, being Donna del Mundo's pet, in her words. And that's what kind of makes the defection sting even more, because after she won that match against Tom, her leader Julia hugged and consoled Natsupoi, who was overwhelmed with emotion. Despite seeming like an odd fit with the faction at the start, Donna del Mundo became such a tight-knit faction. But yet, Natsupoi still felt like she wasn't valued or meeting the expectations she had for herself. So, she decided to take a chance. A chance that she knew was for her own good, but would leave many hurt and betrayed. And really, hurt and betrayed is not enough to describe the emotions felt here. Seriously, the post-match stuff is probably the greatest piece of wrestling and storytelling I've ever seen. If you can, seek it out online. Stardom has posted they've posted a video where it includes the super kick, as I mentioned, and all the post-match, the semantics of it all, It's really good. Because when you see the super kick happen, Natsupoi's facial expressions are bar none. She's displaying such pain and anguish on her face for the choice she just made, but yet, it's almost like you can't see any signs of regret on her face. Like I mentioned, her faction members look on with a variety of expressions: anger, confusion, hurt, unease. Tom herself is wearing a genuine face of shock. And like I mentioned, the commentary team was going crazy during this moment too, showing their genuine shock as they genuinely, like, their reactions genuinely display like shock and like they were caught off guard by it. And as I mentioned, the post-match promo, it's the part I love the most. Because unlike other promotions that, when a turn happens, when the heel turn happens, when someone betrays another person and they wait till next week's show for that person to, cut a promo and talk about why they did it, Stardom here didn't wait for the following shows for the faction members to speak their mind, for Poi to explain why she did it. Instead, after the match is concluded, they all get in the ring with both factions standing across from each other and Natsupoi in the middle. And they all just grab a mic, or they grab the mic one by one and continue to just speak. Specifically, each Donna del Mundo faction member speaking a different message to Poi. And again, at this point, I am going off rough translations and just what I can gather from expressions and their tones. The first to step up, obviously, is the leader. Julia comes off with a more condescending tone, as to be expected from a leader who just got super kicked by their subordinate. Again, condescendingly, she tells Poi that she was a cute pet, but she will see what happens from this point on, as she storms away angrily. Next is Hemeka, and she is coming from a place of hurt and genuine confusion. She says, unlike others, Natsupoi was kind, and that's what she loved and respected about her. She never once viewed Natsupoi as a pet or a mascot. But at the end, Hemeka shifts moods as she gets in Poi's face and simply tells her, "I won't forgive you for betraying us." And she walks away, essentially giving Natsupoi the death stare. Now, Hemeka is much taller than Natsupoi, so you can see a little bit of fear in Natsupoi's eyes, likely thinking of how she'll likely have to face her one day. Poi thinks this is the end, and so she tells them bye, but Maika is the next to grab the mic. And she definitely has anger in her voice. She's definitely the one that's most angry about this defection. And while I haven't found much translation for her part, it's clear she feels betrayed. And the little detail I forgot to mention is that each member keeps sort of pausing during their speeches kind of showing that they're struggling to finish whatever they're saying, that their emotions are getting through to them, many times bringing them to near tears. And that comes into play with the final member, Tecla. Tecla is an Austrian wrestler brought into Donna del Mundo by Julia at the start of the year. And she's, as you can tell, being brought in at the start of the year, she's the member who's known Natsupoi for the least amount of time. But yet, she's clearly the one most devastated by the defection. Tecla doesn't even stand up to face with Poi. She's crouched just simply staring at her, but then she slowly gets up and makes her way to her. Before she even has a mic in hand, you can tell she's holding back tears with a face that just screams, "Why? Why out of everyone did it have to be you? Why are you doing this?" A face of desperation, wishing for it all to be a ploy. And then, she doesn't even say a word. She's simply distraught and backs up with the body language that simply reads as, "Fine, be that way." Her faction members pull her back and support her, as you can see her knees slightly starting to buckle at this point. They all exit the ring, as Tecla gives a simple peace sign to Natsupoi, who stands there with an empty stare. As Donna del Mundo leaves to the back, many of the members only give slight glances back, but all share the same one of two looks. Either a look of distraught, or a look of anger with nothing but vengeance on their mind. And it is here that it all just becomes too much. Poi is crouched in the middle of the ring, hand over her hand, and then wiping tears from her eyes. And it is at this point that Tam extends her hand out to her. But Natsupoi just sits there, trying her best to hold back tears. So, Tam simply sits next to her, hugs her, and reassures her that things will be alright. Together, they will revolutionize Stardom.